And okay, we look good.
All right, ready to go?
Yeah, and I am chatting with Pua Knapp Monds.
Mons. Yep.
Monds. All right. Great, great, great. And you are in
Right
where?
now,
Oh,
San Diego
okay. Because you were in Alaska for a while, weren't you?
for 24 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's,
Now,
I
I
would go.
was misled like the general public. I thought Alaska was like one giant chunk of ice that never ever warmed up. But I
No,
found out over time that parts of Alaska are really nice.
all of it's really nice. I love it there. I would be there now if I could do my job from there.
Where you
It's,
lived in Alaska, did it ever get extremely cold?
oh, yeah. I mean, a couple of times when I went up to Fairbanks, it was minus 60, but you learn to cope with it. Though I do have a funny story. We went up there for a performance and we had borrowed the Anchorage Symphony's tuba, and somebody left it in the truck overnight, which not supposed to do, but anyway. So we pulled it out and it was in a really big, sturdy, heavy box, and somebody dropped it. And we are like, okay, it's protected. And we opened it up and it was so cold that the bell just crumpled like a piece of paper. So we had to pay the Anchorage Symphony to get the tuba fixed. But yeah, it does get kind of cold up there. But unless about when it gets to about minus 20, that's when they tell kids to come in from recess. Otherwise, you just live with it.
I mean, here in Minnesota, I think it gets pretty cold, and they don't let the kids out anything really below high 20s, probably,
Yeah,
if
Alaska.
at all, for any length of time. So,
Yeah, I've been to Minnesota. It is cold. It's a different kind of cold, though.
oh, okay. Yeah, I imagine humidity probably plays a factor in that kind of thing, or
Yeah,
maybe whichever one is up and down the latitude, longitude kind of thing, or whatever. So,
yeah, yeah, and you just get used to it. I mean, we used to have a joke is that it's not cold until your nose hairs freeze. So
and I can imagine trying to test if they're frozen or not.
yeah,
Okay, so let's find a good starting point. What grade did you start coming here?
I'm a lifer. I started in kindergarten, went all the way through to 12. Almost got kicked out in eighth grade. Thank you, Miss Lord. But other than that, I made it all the way through.
Wow, okay. I think you're my third. Grayling, Doug Panee, and now
Mhm.
you.
Yep.
So I think I've spoken with three of you lifers. Douglas was talking about, I guess, the buildings that housed you in kindergarten are still physically there on campus.
Yeah, they are. Well, I haven't been home for years, but last time I was home, they were there. What's changed is the middle school. They completely rebuilt all that.
I know, because I think you and I chatted offline because you're staying in the dorms, right?
Yeah,
And the name of the dorm they told me to look for is not one of the names that was there before. So
yeah,
I'll have to just walk down the street and knock on doors or
yeah. It's
figure out something.
I
So
think they rebuilt the dorms, and I think some of the buildings. I'm trying to think because I saw pictures of it. But yeah, it's very different from when we were there. Like the breezeway is blocked off and stuff like that. So it's gonna be interesting to see all the changes.
wow.
Excuse me.
So do you remember specifically what year the last time you were home?
Oh golly. I want to say, well, home as in Oahu,
Okay.
maybe 2011, 2012. But 3 years ago, I got to go to Kauai because of my job. So I was on Kauai for 3 days. And
Oh,
then,
wow. Okay.
yeah, it was fast.
Okay. Do you still have family in the island?
Oh, yeah. 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 All my nieces and nephews, and one of my sisters, which is why I'm really excited about going back. I get to see her. I haven't seen her for a while.
Yeah. I mean, that I would think that would be just a good reason and kind of I know life can get in the way, but it seems like maybe the your most recent trip might have been more recent, but Yeah, I know what it's like to. How many reunions have you attended?
Oh, the last one, let me think. The last one I went to was the 25th. So that was, when was that? I don't know.
75 and 25, 2000. Must have been 2000.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Wow.
Um, and I went to I think the 5, 10, 15, and then we moved to the mainland, and I didn't get back till the 25th, and then this one.
Okay. So when we graduated, did you have a game plan, a
Oh, yeah.
direction? What did you do after graduation?
Well, I kind of knew all the way through high school that I was going to go into music. In fact, Anthony Ramos had that conference with my mother about my schedules. He goes, she can't major in music in her senior year. And my mom was like, she knows what she wants to do. Just let her go. But anyway, I went to University of Hawaii, got a secondary music education degree, which it's a weird one. It's comprehensive, which means I could teach band, choir, orchestra. And then I immediately went into teaching at the school, St. Andrew's Priory, that I student taught at. And then the next year I moved to Georgia uh, and stayed there for a little while. And then I had met my husband in Hawaii, and he was in the Air Force. So he got stationed in Nebraska. And while I was in Georgia, we got married.
How did you end up in Georgia then? What was
Um,
the draw?
it was his family was there.
Oh, okay.
And they had a position open for a secretary, not secretary, receptionist. So I went just for an adventure because I was ready to get out of Hawaii and just go and see stuff. So we got married and then moved to Nebraska, which was, and then we moved back to Hawaii in 19, no, 82, probably 83, 84, and took care of my parents. We had, the Air Force was wonderful. They put us on compassionate reassignment because both my parents had cancer. So we took care of my
Oh
mom
boy.
until she passed and took care of my dad until he passed. So we stayed in Hawaii for 12 years and had both of my children, Margaret Bomaika Ikalani, who is, I'm not going to say how old she is, and then my son, Malcolm Joshua Kaimilani. And then when 91, see, I taught at Kalakaua Intermediate. And then in 91, we moved to New Mexico. We got reassigned to New Mexico, which was the armpit of the United States. Don't, sorry, if any of you guys live there, I'm sorry, but too brown, too dirty, too many criminals. Anyway, but so we got reassigned there for 3 years. And then we were supposed to go to England. And at the last minute, we got canceled out of England and sent to Alaska. And my husband was pretty near retirement by then. So we got to Alaska and he retired. And we lived there for 24 years. And I retired there. I had taught for 38 years. So I did my retirement. And my husband passed in 2007. So I was up there by myself. So my kids were like, we want you down here where we can keep an eye on you down on the mainland. So I sold my house, got an RV, and drove my RV down to California. So that was a quick version, but yeah. So
In high school, were you in band slash orchestra as a student then?
everything. I was in concert glee, I was in band, I was in choir, I was in Hawaiian ensemble. I did stuff, theater stuff. So my senior year, all my classes were music except one English class and home ec, which passed by the skin of my teeth. I am not a home ec person at all. Not ever, not will ever be.
Yeah. Well, I just out of lack of choices or maybe a mild interest, my senior year, I had room for electives and I took basic sewing. And I think in the entire semester, I just barely finished one pair of drawstring shorts, you know.
Yeah, I finished a bag. That was it.
Yeah.
But I was like,
Meanwhile, girls in my class are doing an outfit a week or,
yeah.
just burning through stuff. And I'm still measuring drawstring at week number 9.
Well, honestly, and I probably shouldn't say this, but I was because I was in so many music groups. Like I would, and I lived in Makakilo, so I would get to school like at 6 for rehearsals or whatever, and then sometimes I wouldn't get home till like 10 o'clock. So I was exhausted. So a lot of times, well, I shouldn't say this. I used to cut home ec and go sleep in the band room down underneath where the practice rooms were. We had like all this stuff set up where we could go down there and just crash. So yeah, that's
Okay.
why I didn't almost didn't pass it. But I went to my other classes.
Secrets out after the fact. Secrets
Oh,
out after the fact. Oh, okay. So now here's my educator question. Um, those that were in education that I've talked to so far, because it just seems like, and I can only imagine third hand, but have you ever had students, you encounter them years later, they remember you and they thank you for something specific you added to their life?
yeah, I've had that happen a couple of times. I'm still in touch with a lot of my students from several schools through Facebook. They found me or I found them. So yeah, I really miss my kids. I miss the reason I retired because I was ready to go, but I'm really glad I did when I did because the year after we had that big earthquake in Alaska and my school, the roof part of the roof caved in, so they were out of the building for 6 months, I think. And then right after that was COVID. And I cannot, my daughter-in-law was a kindergarten teacher and she was trying to teach online during COVID with
Wow.
kindergartners. It's like, yeah, no, not happening. It's like, go draw a picture. We'll talk about this later. But yeah, I've stayed in touch with them and I've got some really good feedback from some. It's good because the job I have now, I when I retired, it was like I cannot sit still. I so ADHD, but I found a job doing tour directing for a music company. So what I do is I take bands, choirs, and orchestras to competitions all over the United States. So that way I get to do the music, I get to be with the kids, and then I get to give them back and come home.
Okay, so these are high school or younger age kids, and
Yeah.
you set up for them to go tour other schools or just open venues or
Um, everything like this. I did a lot of Disney work for a while, but this year I've been mostly West Coast. And I took a band from, no, sorry, a choir from Oklahoma to Indiana. And then I took a band from LA to New Orleans. And then another band from Colorado to Anaheim. And then one from Texas to Missouri. And then my last one, which was last week, was a band from San Jose going to Anaheim. And they go for workshops or they go for competitions. And then they get to do all the touristy stuff. And I get to do it with them. And I get paid.
the organization of a project like that just sounds incredible. I mean,
You
you're
have to be
working
on.
with schools that are not in the same school district, different administrations. Do you walk in and set it up from day one? Like you sit down and with
We
the
have what are they called? Tour designers, the company
okay.
does. So the tour designers make it up and then give us an itinerary. And then when we take the groups, we have to follow the itinerary. But we have a lot of leeway because things change. Like sometimes things that we're supposed to be doing aren't available. So you have to be able to pivot really fast and get things moving in another direction. So it's
Yeah,
a lot of organization, but it's also a lot of fun. I mean, I get to go places I normally probably wouldn't have gone.
yeah. Is it within the continental United States though?
Some of it is. There's also some that go to Europe. I haven't done those yet, but mine have mainly been East Coast until this year, and then this year I started doing more of the because they're branching out more to the West Coast. So I've gotten more of the West Coast kind of middle America side. I took a
Wow.
group. I took a group of adults from Minnesota. That is the worst group I ever had. They were drunk the whole time. total pains in the. When I came back, I told our boss, I was like, I never ever want adults again. I would rather deal with teenagers. These people drove me crazy.
And these were adults that were going to perform wherever you
So
took them, or
this was actually it was a political group, which we have several divisions in our company. Some are music, some are
mm.
educational, some are just normal travel. And they were from Minnesota, from Minneapolis, and they were exploring racial conflict in other cities. So we were in San Francisco to
Oh, geez.
what do you call it, interview people there, mainly in Chinatown, to see how they dealt with racial um, issues. Yeah. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that. But they,
How
I drove.
long was that particular trip?
That was a very long week.
Wow.
Yeah, I got to go to San Francisco, so hey, there's bright spots to everything.
And most of these trips, then you are the sole person from your company.
Yep.
You guys never double up or
If we have more than two buses, then we usually get another tour director, but
okay.
that's iffy because sometimes I've done three buses by myself. But the big
Wow.
ones, like when we have six buses from Texas bands, there's usually three of us because those are huge.
Oh, I can even imagine. I mean, how did you discover this job? It just sounds so unique, like a niche kind of.
Well, it's interesting because this company, when I was teaching in Alaska, we used them for our trips. They took us to the
Oh,
Rose Bowl and Macy's Parade, and there was another one in Chicago Grand Nationals in Indiana. So when I retired, I got to be really good friends with some of the people there. And when I retired, I was like, "Are you guys hiring?" And they're like, "Yes, yes, we are hiring, but you can't be in Alaska." And I was like, "Well, I'm going to San Diego anyway." So yeah, so it's a part-time job. I do it when I want to. If I don't want to, I just say no. But mainly it keeps me out of trouble because if I sit for too long, something bad is going to happen. So I have to
okay.
keep myself busy.
Yeah. Sidestep for a second. You mentioned attending the Rose Bowl.
Yeah,
Do does does a group apply and then get accepted to be in the
yeah,
Rose Bowl? Is that how it works?
yeah. You have to send them videos of your group and some other stuff. I was the I did the choir and orchestra at our school, but I was the assistant marching band director, so that's how I got involved in that. But yeah, we had to send in audition tapes, and then we got accepted. And it's funny because when we went, we specifically told them, please put us at the beginning of the parade because we're from Alaska, and if it gets over 65 degrees, we're going to die. So sorry, I got a cat here. So we get down there, and I guess the person we were in contact with didn't do it, so we were the last band in the parade, and it had already gotten up to about 77, 78 degrees. And here we are in our hot uniforms. And we marched, we made it about halfway, and then one of the floats broke down in front of us. So for 20 minutes, we're standing out there in the hot sun, just marching in place, waiting for somebody to go. Luckily, we only lost one person passed out, but everybody else got really sick from the heat. So yeah, it was interesting. It's a 6 mile march, so it's pretty long.
Wow,
And
that is. I
yeah,
mean,
and it's fun. It was because since I was the assistant director, I was marching with them, and it's really a lot of fun. I mean, you see a lot of really cool people, cool floats. We got to go see all the floats up close, so that was a lot of fun.
see,
The
when you say it's 6 miles in uncomfortable heat, my mind goes immediately to the tuba guy.
yeah, no, they actually did well. They actually did really well. It was a trombone player that passed out, and it was because she didn't eat breakfast. So
Okay.
yeah, the rest of them though, I mean, we had ice water out there, and we were just like pouring water down them. Every time we stopped, it was like drink, drink, drink. So I think that helped a lot. Um, when we did Macy's parade, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade, it was funny because it was like Oh, it's super cold. Well, for them, it was cold. And they have a rule that below 40 degrees, you have to wear, what you call it, long underwear, you know, thermals. And we're all going, no. So we get out on the parade. Everybody's like wearing all the clothes they own. All the other bands are wrapped up in stuff, right? And we're going along, going, "Oh, this is nice. You like it? Thank you for the cool." I mean, it was about maybe 40, 42 degrees. It was wonderful, and that one's short. That's only 3 miles. But yeah, the
And
scary about that though was it was right after some attack in New York. So we're marching along, and I happened to look up, and there were snipers on all the rooftops. And I was
but
like, oh,
hopefully good guys though,
oh
right?
yeah, they were ours. They were ours.
Okay.
I'm not telling the kids this because I don't need them freaking out. I mean, we had enough parents going, oh, it's dangerous. It's like, no, trust me. In that parade, you're probably in the safest place in the world on that day because I mean, we had protection like crazy.
Uh,
So
and is it same protocol? You
I,
audition,
yeah,
apply, and get accepted or whatever.
and this one, I mean, we did a show. Okay, Rose Bowl is mainly marching, but they have a thing called Band Fest, which we did the day before, where we did our regular marching show. Um, at Macy's, they have a spot where all the bands go, and you have to do a performance there. It's kind of where, if you watch Macy's, is where they do all the like the Rockettes and all that other stuff. They
Mm.
put you in front of the cameras, and you have to do your field show. So we did that, and it's really weird because um, there's no grid lines or anything, so you have to kind of know where you're going by feel. So it's cool. I mean, we did that. We did the show, and then pow. So it was fun.
Ah. Well, man, there's a whole bunch of chapters for your autobiography someday in there.
Yeah, actually, I've brought my choirs back to Hawaii several times. We sang at Kamehameha. We sang with the concert glee. We went and did a performance for them. And it was funny. One of the directors was like, "Oh, shame the Hollies speak our language better than we do." And I was like, I am very picky about language with them. So when they learned their Hawaiian, they learned it right. So yeah, but that was fun. It was fun singing with concert glee and performing. And then we've been back several times. We took the band and then the choir. So it was a lot of fun showing the kids my home
Yeah.
and also teaching them my heritage and my language. So, in fact, when we were in Alaska, they had this thing called Aloha Days at one of the big malls. And I don't know if you know who J.R. Digala is, but he's used to be in Alaska. Now he's in Honolulu, but he arranges those every year. And we were the only group that sang in Hawaiian. So my little Howley kids are up there on the stage singing Hawaiian. It was funny.
But if the group has that sense of we're good enough, we can do it, anything's possible. Because I watched a performance by I don't know, like a 6 or 7 piece choral called Rose Ensemble up in Minneapolis.
Mhm.
And one little girl was from Kauai, but the rest were all Howleys. And they did a collection, probably 7 or 8 numbers by I think Queen Kapiolani or something. But I mean, yeah. And I mean, brought tears to my eyes listening to them sing it. But they said they went there, they had a guy that, you know, taught them specifically by themselves
Yeah.
and a taskmaster. So, it's like so they really, and it was a struggle, but they pulled it off. But yeah, if they have that fire,
Yep.
and anything's possible. So
Yeah. It was
did
fun.
were you in a specific grade level when you taught in Alaska?
Um, I taught K through 12 for 9 years,
Wow.
and
Okay.
then just high school for 14 years there. So yeah, I did most of them. I like high school better. I really cannot communicate with anybody below sixth grade. I just I don't understand them. So yeah, my love was junior high and high school.
So you said your kids wanted you. closer to them. So do they both live near you now?
Margaret, my daughter, lives about 20 minutes away from me. She lives in
Okay.
Hillcrest, and my son is in Boston, which is not close, but closer than it was before. And they just had their first kids this past year. So I have two mo'opuna now. They're age-wise, they're 2 weeks apart, but Jeremiah decided to show up 6 weeks early, so they're about a month and a half apart. So yeah, it's really cool. I got one boy and one girl, practically the same month. So all done. I got my mo'opuna. I'm
There
happy.
you go. And so obviously then one's in Boston. So you probably see your daughter's one more often. Your
Oh yeah.
daughter has the boy or the girl?
The boy, Jeremiah,
Okay.
Jeremiah Malcolm Kaleo Kaleni. And then the granddaughter is Zeta Mackenzie Cameleo Kaleni.
Zeta.
Zeta, Zeta. Yeah. I don't understand it either, but
Okay.
that's the name they want. So
Cool.
yeah, it's an interesting name, but we finally got them together at Christmas and it was so much fun. It's the first time they've ever seen each other and they just had a blast.
Cousins.
Yeah.
Cousins.
So hopefully we're going to try and get them together again. Hopefully this summer, but maybe, sometime soon. That's one
Yeah.
good thing about my job. When I'm done, if I want to be dropped off someplace else, I can. So when I was finished with the Texas job, I went to Boston instead of coming here. So I got to spend
Wow, that's a benefit right there.
so I got to spend both of their first birthdays with them, which was really special.
Awesome. Yeah. How old are they now?
Um, Jeremiah is 15 months and shush, sorry, dog. Um, Zeta is 13 and a half months.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's probably right about that walking and starting to talk
Oh, yes.
age and
Yes, exactly. Yes.
when you
And get
gotta
trouble.
childproof the house and
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I'm blessed that I get to when Margaret's working at home, I'm her kind of babysitting nanny person. So I get to take care of Jeremiah sometimes twice a week. So I enjoy that.
what fields did your children end up in? Any of them follow
Um,
music or
Josh did. He was this kid up until his senior year. He was going to go to University of Washington and do medicine, cardiothoracic surgery. He was born with 7 heart defects, so he's had a lot of surgeries. But halfway through his senior year, he decided he wanted to go to Berklee School of Music in Boston. So all the auditions were POW already. So he had to go down to Atlanta to audition, and he got in. So he graduated from Berklee with a music business degree. And now he is it's kind of hard to describe. He's a manager slash production manager slash sound engineer for a company in Boston. And then Margaret is a project manager for General Atomics here in San Diego. It's a company that makes like drones and things like that.
oh cool. Okay.
Yeah. So they're both did good. And what's cool is when they get older, they take you places instead of you paying for everything. So I love that. It's like, yeah, you guys make more money than me. You can pay for that because I paid already.
Yeah, yeah. There we go. Let's take turns. So your son grew up then doing the orchestra band
Oh yeah, yeah. Both
activities.
did. Both were in band.
Okay.
Both were in choir. Josh was really heavy into theater. He did quite a few plays and musicals.
What
So
was your son's primary instrument?
voice, but he was
Oh,
also
okay.
a trombone player and a little bit of piano. He actually won the regional scholarship for voice in Atlanta. So he had a partial scholarship for Berklee.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, he sang in a rock band for a while. They actually have stuff on iTunes, but then life got busy. He was working, got married, has a baby. So I keep trying to encourage him. You need to go back into your music and sing. Hold on one second. Stop it. sorry. I've got my daughter's. I'm at my daughter's house, so her
Oh,
dog's
okay.
sitting right over my shoulder here, growling at something. But anyway,
I
yeah,
think they're feeling neglected. You're not talking to
I'm not
them.
talking to him. Yeah, but no. So Josh, I mean, he's doing musicy stuff, but not enough. He needs to get back into his singing
And how about your daughter? Did she have a primary instrument while she was
voice.
participating? Okay.
Yeah, she was a vocal major. She went to University of Montana for about a year and then decided that wasn't her thing. It's funny. She told me because she majored in music. She was like, "It's not fun when it has to be your job." And I said, "Okay, I get it.
Makes a difference.
I
Makes a
understand."
difference. Yeah.
Yeah. So she went in an entirely different direction, but it's okay. She's doing good.
Cool. So did they have like voice lessons as they grew up or
Yeah.
anything like
Oh, yeah.
that?
Oh, I was. It worked out perfectly that the schools they were at, I was their music teacher.
Oh,
So
okay.
both of them had vocal lessons. Both of them were in band and had instrument lessons. Margaret played trumpet and Josh played trombone and drums. And yeah, so they both had a lot of music education just being around what I did.
I can imagine it's
Yeah.
kind of a given almost.
So I was like, this is your Hawaiian part, your music. You got to keep it going. So yeah.
That's awesome. Other than work, have you recreationally traveled very much in the last 50 years?
Oh yeah. I used to come down. Well, I come down every year to visit Margaret, but actually to go to Comic Con. So I come down here every year for Comic Con, and I actually work at Comic Con. I'm a volunteer. And then I got to go to Qatar, uh, Doha, Qatar, because my son, when he graduated from Berkeley, got hired by Jazz at Lincoln Center to run one of their clubs in Doha. So he was in Doha for 3 years, and he was the sound engineer and the, I guess, manager. He was the one that did all the contracts for all the people that went over there. And so one year I got to go see him for Christmas. So I spent Christmas, which was a very weird thing to do, spending Christmas in a Muslim nation. But it
And
was
they've had periods of war, haven't they? Qatar?
Doha. Not really. Doha is
Uh,
probably one of the safer places to be. I know I was worried too. And he was like, "Mom, we're safe here." And so they are. They've got a military base close by. But it's it was very interesting because Qatar is very rich, because they discovered oil. All the citizens of Qatar pretty much, if their car breaks, they just leave it and go buy a new one, literally. But the people that come in and work, like not my son because he was a manager, he was what they call a higher level, but the people that just come in and do the maids, the construction, all that stuff, they live in these slums that you don't see. You don't see it unless you look for it. And it's just the conditions are terrible. It's really bad.
hmm. And I'm gonna guess really low pay and
Um, yeah, a lot of them they come from like the Philippines and Indonesia, and they're making money to send home. So they come on work visas, and then uh, yeah, it's pretty bad.
that reminds me when this had to have been probably in the late 90s, early 2000s. We had a driving school in Hawaii, and in Hawaii, driving schools probably do 60% adults, 40% kids.
Hmm.
And we'd have all these little Filipinas, and one of them was telling me she had Hong Kong, I believe, somewhere. But anyway, she was a nanny for a Chinese family for like 12 years.
Hmm.
So her Chinese got very, very good. So she said for fun, when she got back to Hawaii, she'd love to go down to Chinatown and do a little bartering, and then the Chinese people would turn to each other and start going at it in
Gosh,
Chinese,
yeah,
thinking it was a secret. And then she'd break out her Chinese, and they were like, "Oh, totally embarrassed."
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Busted.
That's, I wish I could do that. I can do a little bit of Spanish, which is good here, a little bit of German, a little bit of French, but mostly from singing it. I mean, I couldn't speak it at all.
Yeah.
Everybody here, it's funny, all the Hawaiians here, they think we're Hispanic. So people will come up to me and just go in Spanish. And I'm like, I'm Hawaiian. No habla español. It's like, sorry. But yeah.
Yeah. Out of necessity, my basic conversational Spanish just was forced upon me just because it just happened every day nonstop. And, even when you're not wanting to, you absorb stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then in Texas, it's very slangy. So your grammar doesn't have to be anywhere near correct,
Mm,
or you just got to kind of know your vocabulary, and
yeah.
pretty, pretty
You
wild,
don't
but
say something wrong.
yeah, which I did a time or two, but
Yeah. That's why I don't even attempt it. I mean, I can do hello, I don't understand, goodbye, thank you, the basic stuff. But living in San Diego, we're so close to the border. It's everything is in Spanish here, English and
mm.
Spanish. So you have to start kind of picking up on, okay, what's this? What's that? But I mean, yeah, it is what it is.
Now San Diego, that's like heavy Navy population, isn't it?
Yeah, Navy and Marines. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not Alaska. I would rather be in Alaska. But for the second place I had to land, it's not bad.
For the 24 years that you lived in Alaska, where you lived in Alaska, what is it, a high population area or low, more rural, or
We lived in Anchorage for
okay,
23 years. And then I
okay.
moved out to the valley because the school I taught at, second school I taught at, was 45 miles away in the valley. So I commuted every day. But
Wow.
it's funny because they say in the city, but we had we had moose that would come up in our yard, and we had a tree that they really loved, and there was one mama moose that every year would bring her babies, and they'd all come and eat at the tree. My daughter had when she was living up there, she went out of her house to get in her car, and there was a bear across the street. So she had to jump in the car. But I mean, it's like that. We had wildlife everywhere. We had bears walking around downtown at the big city park. There's moose on the road all the time. You got to be careful when you're driving that you don't hit a moose. And luckily, in all those years that I traveled that highway, God was watching out for me because I came close once. I know I saw it go by, but yeah, I had friends that have hit mooses and it destroys, hit moose, there's no mooses, and it destroys your car completely.
Well, I can imagine. I remember seeing a clip where a moose is in chest deep snow and he's going full blast like a
Oh, yeah,
train. It's
they
not
are fast.
stopping him.
Yeah, they are super fast. You don't, we get so many tourists up there. They go, oh, I'm going to feed the little moosey. It's like, oh, you're okay. Come tell me when it stomps your head because that's what they will do. Yeah.
Do they ever get aggressive with a vehicle?
Yes.
Like you're
Yeah.
trying to stay out of their way, but they'll still kind of.
Yeah. If it's a mama and a baby, yes, you've got to be super careful. There's videos online of moose attacking snow machines, people on a snowmobile. That's what you guys call
Wow.
snow.
Okay.
Um, last year, was it last year? 2 years ago, Dallas CV in the Iditarod, there was a moose out on the trail, and one of the mushers went by and just managed to get by him. And then Dallas, who won the Iditarod, comes along, and this moose was just right in front of him. Oh wait, I know. The first musher punched it in the nose. Okay. So the second time when Dallas came through, the moose was pissed. So the moose went after his team, and he ended up having to shoot it. So he's out there at like 2 o'clock in the morning with a team full of dogs, and you can't get any help. And the law in Alaska is that if you kill an animal, you have to gut it, so that the meat can be salvaged. So he's out there at 2 o'clock in the morning trying to pull a moose, dead moose, off his dogs, gut it, and make sure everything's okay, and then get back into the race. Well, they almost disqualified him because I guess he didn't completely gut, even though they could use the moose, he didn't completely gut it right. And then they decided, nah, just let him go. But if you hit a moose, you have to call. They have these hotlines where these groups come out and they salvage the moose meat and then pass it out to people that need it. So nothing
Wow.
goes wasted. If you hit a bear, you have to call. Of course, if you hit a bear, you're probably not going to be around. But anything you kill or eat or hit, you have to call, or you have to gut it yourself and pull it out.
Wow.
It's
I
great. Yeah.
guess I can see the validity to that concept, but I mean, what if you just are not an outdoors person? I mean, no idea the first thing about gutting. I guess then you just
You call
immediately
those people.
call.
Yeah. They come and they get the moose and they take care of it and clean it so that other people will have food.
Hmm.
And moose meat is good. I love it. It's really good.
Huh.
Yeah.
Is it like I hear people say with some wild animals, you have that gamey taste to
Yeah.
it?
It depends on when you get it. Sometimes it's a little more gamey than others. The thing is that moose meat is super lean, so you have to cook it with fat. Otherwise, it gets dry.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's good.
In Alaska, is moose ever sold commercially? Like you walk
No,
in a supermarket and okay.
no, you have to get it yourself. There's a lot of food that's protected, like seal, which I've had, and whale, which is really good. Muktuk is really good. It's funny because we did a fundraiser and we had Frank De Lima, Andy, ah,
Bumatai?
yeah,
Bumatai? Okay.
and Augie and Uncle Mel, who passed away, all came up to do the fundraiser for us. So, they're doing all their local comedy and stuff. So we had a special dinner where we got people that are native donated food, right? So we're sitting there eating and they were trying almost everything. I mean, Uncle Frank didn't want to try anything. And Andy tried the seal and he didn't know what it was. And I told him what it was and he spit it out. It was so funny. But I mean, they tried stuff. And I was like, you guys, this is just like home, just a different animal. So
Yeah, I
they
mean, if you've
they all
never eaten Filipino food, I mean,
exactly. Especially, oh, Andy should know that. Andy Bumatai, yeah, you should know that. But Augie was the one that ate the most. Uncle Frank was kind of and Uncle Mel was like, I'll try some of it. But yeah, Augie comes up a lot, or goes up. Well, see, I think I'm still in Alaska. He goes up a lot to do comedy shows up there.
okay.
He's probably had some of that stuff before. So yeah, that was fun. It was interesting trying to. We had a lot of locals show up for it, the fundraiser, but we had some just normal Alaska people, and they did not get some of the humor. It was interesting because I was sitting there and I was like, okay, this is what that means. But yeah,
So
yes.
in Anchorage, would you guess that the Hawaii people population is small,
Oh no,
average, or abnormally
there's a
large,
lot.
or
There's a lot of Hawaii people, a lot of Samoans. In the Anchorage School District, there's 95 different languages spoken. That's how wide the spread is there.
holy moly?
And the Hawaiians and the Samoans go up there to fish. During the summer, you can make a lot of money fishing and then
Wow.
end up staying. So the Hawaiian food in Anchorage is better than the Hawaiian food in San Diego. And there's plenty of Hawaiians here. But yeah,
Huh.
I could get real poke, not excuse me, the haole poke, with the salad. I'm like, what is that? But yeah, up in Hawaii, we could get anything. And because of the fresh fish, we had
Mm.
and we had all kinds of good stuff. So yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And there's a really good several good Hawaiian restaurants up there. And there's some here, but they're really like fusion, what they call fusion. So that's when I get home, all I'm gonna do is eat. So if I'm eating, leave me alone.
Yeah. We have a little bit of access in Minneapolis, but for me, it's a 2.5 hour drive, so I've got to really plan around it when I
Yeah.
go up there. And so, yeah, I plan to eat my way through my reunion trip. So,
Yeah, I already told my sister because she said, "Well, you're gonna come over when you land." I said, "No, I'm going to Zippy's first, and then I will come over." So, but there's a Zippy's in Vegas, and I have last year I had a band in Vegas that I took to Anaheim. So whenever I have them, I always stay a couple of days. And this time I went to Zippy's, and I always go and get my Hawaiian food because plenty Hawaiians in Las Vegas.
Oh yeah, I talked to Jeff Anoa, and he just
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah. So I get my fix. I get my aku, my dried aku, bring it home to San Diego. So that's like, so I got my Zippies in between, but I still want more.
Well, without consistency, they gets more precious, I think,
Yeah, 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 definitely.
How long are you planning to be home for?
I'm going to be home till the 11th. So about
Okay.
3 days after 4 days after the reunion ends. Spend some time with my sister, with my nephews. One of my great nephews just graduated from UH Med School. So
Wow, okay.
be good to see him. And then my other nephew, Kai Markel, is retiring this year, I think, from OHA. So it'd be good to go and see him and do some other stuff.
Yeah. Do you have siblings?
I did. Well, I did. I had three sisters, and two of
Okay.
them passed. And my second oldest sister is in Hawaii. I think she lives up near Punahou area. So
Okay.
that's yeah. I really want. So wait, hold on, Apollo. No, no, sorry. I really want
Where
to.
where are you age ranked?
I am the baby. I'm the spoiled baby. My sisters were like my oldest sister was 20 years older, and then Cynthia, who I'm going to see, is 14 years older.
Oh
And then
wow. Okay,
Sandra was,
big spread.
yeah, Sandra was 10 years older, and I was a mistake. So, so my mom always used to call me her mistake, which does wonders for your self esteem. But anyway, yeah. So I'm the spoiled baby.
But I can feel for the relationship because I have a half sister who's 10 years younger than me. And I really had no clue or interaction till she was probably 25
Yeah, yeah,
because you got nothing in common. I'm 12, she's 2, I'm 18, she's 8.
yeah. It was hard. I mean, all three of them at one time or another lived in Hawaii. Um, my oldest sister, her husband was a Marine, so they traveled everywhere. My second oldest sister lived in Waipahu pretty much her whole life. And then Cynthia lived in New Jersey for most of her life and then came home. So I know all my nieces and nephews. I've been able to visit with them. Several I have some in Florida. One of my nieces in Florida. One niece is in I want to say Henderson, Nevada. Um,
Okay.
and then the rest are in Hawaii.
Hmm. Now you mentioned in your younger days living in Makakilo. Did you live there like pretty much throughout your 12 years of
Yeah, we moved there when I was in kindergarten, and we were actually the second family to ever move into Makakilo. So
uh-huh.
our house was way down at the bottom. And unfortunately, it's not there anymore. They raised it and somebody built a condo. But yeah, so the whole time I was at Kamehameha, I lived in Makakilo.
Did you ride a school bus
No, my
to and
mom
from?
and because I had such weird hours because of all the
Oh,
kid. So my mom would drive me in and then come back and pick me up. And
yeah.
there's some legendary stories about my mother racing people, but I'm not gonna go into that. Mainly bad.
I cannot confirm or deny,
Yeah.
but for a lot of my high school years too, my dad lived in Nanakuli, but my mom lived on Molokai. So
Oh wow.
making that drive seem like it's very long, but from what I hear from people today, that
It's
Makakilo to town is horrendous.
it is. I know. I've heard the traffic is just terrible. And then Makakilo goes all the way up to Timberline now, the camp, which used to be all wilderness.
Yeah.
And then it goes all the way the other way. And then there's Kapolei. So all the sugarcane is gone. And it's weird. Last time I went, they were just starting to build the thing they call the rail, which is the ugliest thing I've ever seen. And Kapolei had just started really building up. And it's so weird to go home and not see sugarcane. Because I mean, every year we had what my mom used to call the black snow when they burned it. We had to go run out and pick up all the laundry before, all that stuff. The soot got on everything. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I've seen pictures and read things. Capole is just
it's huge. Yeah,
totally urban.
kind of
You
like a
know,
baby Honolulu. Yeah. And then all the stuff, like we used to go to Barbers Point all the time and swim and, go skating and stuff. And that's all gone. Last time I was there, everything was gone. It's just because it's not a base anymore. I think it's housing,
I think a lot of it is housing. Yeah.
affordable housing. So it's just, I don't know. Last time I was there with my kids, and it was just so weird. I was taking them to places and going, well, that used to be there. And I used to do this here, but that's not there anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Have your kids made enough trips home to where when they're on the ground in Hawaii, they feel kind of at home, or do they
Um,
still feel kind of visitor status?
Josh hasn't been home in a long time since the last time I went. Margaret gets to go every now and then. She went to Maui the year before she got married, and she said it was so funny because weird because when she got there, she was just showing her future husband stuff, and all of a sudden she just got this feeling over her that she was home, and she just started crying. She said it was just this deep spiritual feeling that she got just
Wow.
being there. Yeah. And she is the one that really keeps up on culture, Hawaiian cultural things, and is teaching her son and things. Josh has been away for so long, it's a little harder for him. And he's trying to do some of the traditions, but his wife is Howley, and he's there with their family. So a lot of times they don't understand, like naming his daughter, that it's something you don't do. The name is given. And his wife didn't quite understand how that worked, but we got it worked out. But it's, just Margaret and I are both trying to shoot things his way and go, yeah, you got to do this, you got to do that. And she's really good about that. She's really reaching out. And there's several good Hawaiian. There's Hawaiian Civic Club here, and there's I don't want to call it a social club, but it's a Hui uh, it's a San Diego Hui of Hawaiian people. And then there's also a San Diego Alumni Association. So whenever I go to that stuff, she goes with me, and she picks up on a lot of stuff that way.
Cool.
I'm
Do
trying to.
you get do you get passionate moments as they were growing up where you'd slip into pigeon and startle
I
them, or
It doesn't happen very often. My mother was very strict with us growing up that we were not allowed to speak pidgin. We had to speak proper English. So I did speak pidgin, but not to the extent a lot of my friends did. But when I go home, it was so funny when I took my choirs, they're all like, "We can't understand you." I'm like, I'm just oh, wait a minute. Okay, hang on. I switch back to, normal. Like, da, da, da. But it was funny because I would be in the classroom talking to somebody on the phone from Hawaii, getting stuff ready, and just slip into pidgin. And my kids are all sitting there looking at me like, what was that? So my children have heard it. When I go home, it comes back. So they understand, and they understand. I mean, I use a lot of Hawaiian words when I speak to them, like pau, uh, aole, just the normal stuff that we would use. So they know some of it. They understand some of it.
yeah. Are your children open-minded eaters?
Oh yeah. Well, okay. Yes. Margaret has this thing about seafood. She's getting better. Um, she's starting to eat more of it. Josh will eat anything. I mean, literally anything. So yeah, they're both good. When we went home, the rule is when we go home, you cannot eat any fast food. You cannot eat any American food. You can have Japanese, Filipino, Hawaiian, Chinese, whatever. You cannot eat Hawaiian. Stop. Keep saying that. You can't eat mainland food. Okay. So both of them knew they had to eat whatever was there. So yeah, the only thing we eat from fast food when we go home is breakfast at McDonald's.
Yeah.
The Portuguese sausage, rice, and eggs. That's the only thing you're allowed to eat that's like that. But everything else has to be home food.
And then make sure you pick up the what is it? I don't know the process, but Hawaii's McDonald's apple pie is prepared different than all the other apple pies.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's is it baked? Fried maybe. I don't know. Whatever they do in the mainland McDonald's, Hawaii does theirs the other way. So
I have to try that then now somewhere. I already have a list. I mean, like I said, Zippy's. I'm going to I can't remember the Okazuya that's on Gulick Street, Gulick Deli. Um,
okay.
if it's still there, a lot of places I want to go are gone. Zippy's, I said that already. Leonard's, definitely. Someplace that has good chow fun. Um, yeah, like I said, I'm going to eat for 8 days, and the diet, forget it.
Yeah.
It's not in effect as long as I so yeah, as much poi as I can stuff in my face. Even though I can get fresh poi here, but it
Oh.
costs an arm and a leg. It's
Mm,
$17 for, the little the Hanalei poi, the little
mm.
bottle. So that's kind of a treat. But yeah, we can pretty much I can get like Lau Lau, Kalua Pig. Um, there's one place that does poke right, and I go there. Poi, pretty much all of that here, but it costs so much.
Mm.
That's a treat.
Yeah, I guess you can kind of guess where the high concentrations of local people are because like, around the Seattle area, I hear friends that live up there talk about they have these massive festivals and
Yeah,
performances that
yeah.
and there's local food everywhere. Just
They have one
so
here, the PIFA, Pacific Islander blah, 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 something association, does a huge festival every year, and it's all the different like uh Samoa and Fiji, everybody, Tonga, Hawaiian, and they have lots of there's halaus here, and they come and they perform, and then the food is just yeah, it's good. LNL Hawaiian, which is sometimes not Hawaiian, but they have them here, and yeah, they have all kinds of food, all kinds of stuff you can buy from home. So that's fun.
yeah. And we've got a kind of a misplaced Midwest resident local people Facebook social group, which coincidentally is facilitated by Martha Farrar's son.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I found
Yeah.
out after we graduated that I'm related to her. Well, of course, we're related to everybody. But yeah, I'm related to her. I didn't know that.
Huh. But a few members of the group are very fanatic. Like they had this big thing discussion going on. I guess I've never been there, but there's a little chain. I don't know geographically where, but it's called Hawaiian Brothers.
Oh, yuck. No.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's the reaction
Yeah.
I
They're
get from them. So
they are so not Pono. Um, yeah,
okay,
junk.
so one more tick in the
Yeah, yeah.
don't eat there column.
There's no Hawaiian there. And there's a video that a guy went and tried their food. He was like, yeah, don't even do it. Them, and there was a company in Chicago that decided they were going to copyright Aloha because they wanted to call their company Aloha Poke Company. And they actually sent cease and desist letters to other companies that used Aloha. And there was a lady in Anchorage that had Aloha Poke Stop. And they sent them a letter from the lawyer saying, you cannot use the word Aloha. And everybody was like, oh, no, 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 the Howleys, okay? So a whole bunch of people from Hawaii and from Alaska and other places went down to Chicago and picketed them. And then, the legal fight is like, you can't trademark a language. You can't do that. You can't tell them they cannot use their language. So eventually, I think they won. They settled, but the the good people, they settled. But yeah, there's people that have been trying to do that. And again, like I said, I don't know how the poke is where you are, but here it's fish with salad. I mean, there's edamame in there. I had one with mango. I had one with oh, all kinds of junk. I was like, no, 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 it's okay, and maybe rice. Okay, we don't add all that stuff. And they put like sriracha. I can't say this right. Sriracha, something. They put all this junk on it. I'm like, I just want the fish and the limu, and maybe some shoyu. Okay, the other stuff does not belong, and nobody understands that. There's one company here that just started, I don't want to say Hawaiian fish company, something, but they do it right. They're from Hawaii. They do the poke right. Otherwise, you get salad with fish. It's so junk. And if I go to those places, I'm like, if I have to go to one of those places, I'm like, okay, I just want rice and I just want the fish. You don't want this? You don't want that? You don't. Okay, let me explain. Okay, that's a salad. That's a salad with raw fish. No, so ooh, pigeon is coming out. Anyway, see, yeah. So there's been a lot of strange things happening, but Hawaiian brothers, they pilau.
Mm.
Yeah. And they're nasty about it. They, just yeah. Don't go
Save
there.
me a trip. But
Yeah.
I've seen pictures of the two founders or whatever, and yeah, they look like they just
There's
got
no
off the plane with plastic laser on their neck. So
yeah, no Hawaii at all in there. It's all and their versions of stuff, like the huli huli chicken is basically teriyaki chicken. Yeah. So like I said, if you look up, there's a guy from Hawaii that and did went and ordered a bunch of stuff from them and tried it on and did a video. Well, it didn't even look good.
mm, yeah, it's sad when you see people trying to market the culture,
Exactly. And
without any of the important parts,
yeah, like, oh, let's say Moana. There's so many movies that my kids, when we were singing, they're like, "Oh, we want to do songs from Moana." I said, "No, no. A, Disney, no. But B, that is the most messed up movie ever because
Mm.
it's just there's so much wrong with that movie, you know, culturally. And yeah, I try not to be one of those, the cultural police, like, oh, you cannot do that. I mean, I understand people learn by doing, they learn by seeing. Okay. But I want them to have the right examples, not this pseudo Maui guy that raps. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just, yeah. Sorry, no, you got me on my soapbox.
Oh yeah. Do you foresee yourself retiring in the near future?
Well, I retired once from my main job. Actually, no. Like I said, if I don't have something to do, I get bored. So I've done substitute teaching. Then my other job, my part-time job, and then during the summers, I work at the San Diego State Fair. I'm one of the cart drivers, so we like pick up all the entertainers and take them to their venue,
Oh, okay.
and it's awesome. I'm outside all the time. I love it. And then when Comic Con comes later on, I work there. So it's just, I mean, it's not like working, well, the fair is, but not like working a regular 9 to 5 job, but it's enough to keep me busy. I get play money. So that helps a lot. Um, yeah. And then the rest of the time, I'm the official babysitter. So
Cool. Almost ideal.
yeah, I mean, honestly, God has put me in so many good situations and so many awesome opportunities, and I'm blessed. I am just out and out blessed and grateful for it every day.
So good to hear. So good to hear. We all need to have at least some of that in our lives to keep us going.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny
Mm.
because a lot of people, when they find out how old I am, they're like, no. I'm like, yes. Check with me in the morning when I'm trying to get out of bed and everything's like, ow, ow, ow. And then you'll see, yes, I am 68 years old, you know. So,
It's like a comedian I recently heard who was talking about how he doesn't understand when he can go to sleep, wake up, and something will be injured while he was sleeping. How in the world did that happen?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel 68 years old. But you know what's funny is you look at people like so many people that we we grew up with, like TV stars, movie stars, and stuff. And it's all of a sudden they don't look old. It's like when we were looking at like people our age when we were in our 20s, 30s, like, oh, old. I don't want to be like, you know. And then now here I am and look in the mirror and go, yeah, you're old. And my children always remind me because I'll say something and they're like, okay, boomer. So
Your,
yeah.
your kids sound like a riot.
Oh my, I love again. I was so blessed. I mean, they they had to put up with some when my husband died. He was only 48. He had a heart attack. And Josh was in his first year of college, and Margaret was just getting started down here. So it was rough for them, but especially for Josh because his dad, he's the one that found his dad when he died.
Mm.
So, they've both been through a lot. But again, like I said, I'm just blessed because, and they're my kids. I understand that. And I'm prejudiced, but they're both very level headed, very mature young people. And I'm proud of them. I really am.
Well, it's a testament to their upbringing. So,
They survived me. Yes.
oh God, Pua, mahalo for taking the time to sit down with me. This has been fun
Okay. I'm
and
glad.
interesting and educational and all that good stuff. So, what do we count down in like a week? Maybe just
A week,
barely, huh?
6 days. Yeah. Well, I'm only
Yeah.
going, like, I don't get there till the third. So everything starts on
Wow.
Friday.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
get there midday on the fourth, so
Okay.
kind of sort of the same thing. But we will see you somewhere along the way.
Yeah. 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 It was good talking to you.
Great. Ahui ho.
Ahuyo. Aloha.